Hey everybody, I have a long-awaited or long overdue update video for you guys. Despite all the obstacles, I've been fighting with my microphone and my camera for the last half hour, but I think it's working now. So I actually have a lot of stuff to talk about today. So I actually created an outline, which is why my eyes will be over here most of the time on my other monitor. So first thing is I recently renewed the hosting for the blog for 2 years. I was really debating whether or not I should keep it and try and, put my ranking lists into Google Docs and just say goodbye to a website. But I decided that, okay, let's give it 2 more years and see if it's worth continuing to do. So I'm not going anywhere for now. But yeah, if this is still just a lot of work in 2 years, I'll figure out how to convert everything such that all that's going to be left of Budget Yarn Reviews is the YouTube channel and like a Google Doc with all my yarn rankings. So that said, I am trying to get back into doing more with the blog. Seems like circumstances moving after the move just really tried to foil me. Right up to the point that my dog really injured herself again last November. She's fine now, but it gave me lots of time to sit and knit, but I couldn't really do anything else. So I'm kind of caught up. I kind of have some stuff to share with you guys, but then at the same time, again, everything gets in the way. So there's nothing new on the blog and there hasn't been new videos. So that stuff aside, the projects I have been able to work on, I want to talk about them really quick because it gives you an idea of what yarn reviews I am going to have coming up here soon, hopefully if I have time to write. Because as you may recall, even though I did all the rankings, the durability stuff on all the yarns last year, I was still waiting until I completed a full project before writing an actual review because I wanted to have a little more experience with certain yarns. So that was really holding things up, not being able to finish certain projects. So I finished a bunch of projects. So as a result, I think I have 5 reviews I could go ahead and write here soon. So one of them is for, well, let me talk about the ones that should be coming. Because again, I've made things that weren't in the initial yarn comparison that now need to be added. But anyway, so one of the projects I finished was this Bethany wrap cardigan. It was with Loops and Threads Joy DK, one of the ones that I was waiting to write a review for. It's too warm today, so I can't wear it for you to see, but it's really nice. The yarn is as nice to wear as I thought it would be, and so I bought a bunch more of it, and in the process, the branding actually changed. Remember the weird rolled skeins that everyone hated because they tangled? So they changed the design of the skeins, which makes it nicer to work with. That was 100% of the negative reviews on Michael's website, but everyone loved it other than that. So they changed it. They put it in a nice new roll. They added a couple new colors and everything, and I finished the project with it. So that's going to be one of the reviews that's going to come up, probably one of the first things, just because it is such a nice yarn, and I'm excited about it. But I also technically could write a review of Karen Simply Soft because I finished this all the way last April. This was a cable sweater that I made with it, and the only reason why I never wrote a review for it is because I technically never finished this because I still have all these ends to weave in all over the place, and I technically have to redo the cast off for the turtleneck, kind of just redo the turtleneck as a whole because I think I've decided I have a short neck, and so standard turtleneck size it doesn't quite sit right on me, and then of course this was too tight a bind off that I couldn't fold it over as far as I wanted to. But I obviously worked with the yarn a lot, so I could write a review for it, and I probably will here finally. I don't know why I don't have a Willow Wash review written yet either, because I finished the buffalo plaid hat like forever ago. And it was sometime last summer that I finished washing the second swatch I made, the one that was manufactured in China instead of Turkey. So I have the data now. I just have to write it. I dropped that and that. So those are the ones that are like finally finishing up the ultimate acrylic yarn comparison and everything. But then with some small projects that I have completed, mostly hats. I have a couple more I can contribute that I haven't put anything on the blog for yet. So one of them is Lion Brand's Feel Like Butter. This is a polyester yarn. It's kind of like a chainette yarn, but anyway, I made a hat with that, and I have a swatch here that I have been washing. It's about 8 washes now, so as soon as I finish washing this to get to 15 to match everything else, I can write a review for that too. Something I don't have a project here to show you, but I made a cardigan for my mom last year out of Premier Yarns Everyday Anti-Pilling Merino blend. It's basically the amazing anti-pilling acrylic yarn, but they added some merino to it, some wool, which is really nice. The cardigan I made for my mom turned out amazing. I'm gonna have to see if I can convince her to model it for the blog for me. But so I finally got a swatch of that going through the wash. It's also about 8 washes in, and it's looking great. So as soon as I'm done washing that, I also have that review available. So that's like 5, yeah, that's 5 reviews that I can do. I just have to sit down and write them. So that's what's going to be coming near term. But I did also start just swatching a bunch of yarns that I have random skeins of that or haven't been discontinued yet, because that's a problem I'm having is I will buy a yarn saying I'm going to swatch it, I'm going to do the hat, but they won't last long for they'll immediately go to clearance or get discontinued, and then what am I going to do? I'm still going to do it and put it on the blog even though like nobody can even buy it anymore. That doesn't make any sense. So as an example, I made this hat with Barocco Colora, something that I got on clearance a while ago, and it's a beautiful yarn. I would recommend it, but it's not for sale anywhere anymore. So, but one that is still for sale that I did another hat with. So both of these hats are brioche hats, and the brown contrast is Premier Everyday Anti-Pilling. I really love that yarn. But this purplish one, I have a swatch here for. It's actually Hirschner's 2-ply. It's part of their vintage collection where they brought back some old colors that they had discontinued. But this yarn is available from Hirschner's. It's really common for like their Afghan patterns, like their Afghan kits and everything. And it's really cheap. So because it's got a large color selection and everything, I really wanted to see what it's like. And I've had this skein for several years now. And I decided, hey, this yarn still exists. Let's go ahead and do this so that people know that how it compares. Because there are lots of particularly mosaic crochet projects that because mosaic crochet is so dense, if you use a regular like worsted weight yarn, the blankets get too heavy. And so you want a lighter like sport weight yarn, but there aren't very many of those in a certain price point that's super affordable, has a wide color selection. Because like companies like Red Heart don't really do that, but Hirschner's, they've always kind of done the Afghan thing. So that's where they, in their 2-ply Afghan yarn collection and everything, have lots of colors. And so I figured it would be time to try that out, especially since it seems like lots of the people who watch my stuff and look at my rankings are crocheters rather than knitters. So that's one of the swatches that will be under review. Last year, I had mentioned that I found Premier Yarn's Just Yarn at the dollar store. And so I bought a bunch of it to make a sweater for my niece. I did that at Christmas. I finally started washing a swatch. So as soon as this is done being washed, I can write a review for that. A yarn that I have actually worked with several years ago, but never really followed up with or did anything on was Red Heart's Heat Wave, the yarn that advertises that it'll keep you X degrees cooler even in the shade. So I had made my husband a hat with it years ago. He could never tell the difference. I made a hat for my dad for Christmas with it, and I bought an extra skein to make one for myself. So I actually have 2 colors here. But what I'm going to do, in addition to doing the usual review of how soft is it nice to work with, how durable is it, and everything, something I want to try and do is figure out if I can use a temperature probe to actually compare it to another yarn, kind of in the same color range, to see if it really does keep the probe warmer. So that'll be a separate little side project. Going to be kind of hard to do now that it's summer. If I get a cold day soon, I'm going to really have to jump on that and make that happen. The one that I just grabbed to compare with, I finally swatched Lion Brand Heartland. I don't have a project done with it yet. I have a sweater planned, or maybe a blanket. I can't quite decide. I was kind of honestly waiting to see how the swatch turns out to decide what I want to do with it. Because after I started washing it, it softened more than I thought it would. And I was like, oh, maybe I do want to do a sweater. But I kind of want to see how durable it gets, because I kind of want to avoid doing too many sweaters that will start to look ratty quick. And not saying that there's any verdicts on this yet. It's actually looking pretty good. But so Heartland will be one soon. Last year, I made a hat and scarf set for my sister out of Yarn Bee's Soft and Sleek DK. I've finally been washing the swatch. This is at 12 washes. This is almost done. So as soon as this is done, I can write the review for Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek. 2 that I really, really wanted to compare for fun, that I have swatches here for. So last summer, Bernat continued their Softy series with a Softy cotton, just kind of a lighter DK weight acrylic cotton blend. And it's very similar in proportion to Premier Yarn's Cotton Fair that I've had for a long time I've wanted to use. So Cotton Fair is 48% acrylic, 52% cotton, whereas Softy Cotton is 60% cotton, 40% acrylic. So they're not exactly the same, but they feel pretty similar in the skein. So I thought it would be a good comparison, see which one holds up nicer and everything. I really like the colors, some of the color selection of the Bernat Softy Cotton, but Premier has some good colors too. Like they have a really nice plumish purple that I have a bunch of that I've been meaning to make a sweater with for at least 3 years now. But so I have those 2 swatches that I will hopefully, I probably won't get to reviewing those before summertime, unfortunately, since, I mean, those would be great yarns to know ahead of time for summer, since they're good for summer knits, but I'm only at swatching stages, so I will have information on durability and stuff, but I probably won't write a review on it for a while just because I need to make the projects, unless I decide at some point that I don't necessarily need to do a full project and I can have more half projects sitting around, which really doesn't sound good either. But anyway, so those are all the swatches that I have. They're in progress, being washed. That'll come up next. But wait, there's more. Like a bad infomercial, I'm going to try and sell you on all the other yarns that are still to come after that. So something I picked up, it was introduced sometime last November, and I picked it up. Big Twist has a anti-pilling yarn now. It's Big Twist Living. It's at a higher price point like all the other anti-pilling acrylic yarns. But just looking at the skeins, I was kind of skeptical as to how it would compare durability-wise, because as an example, this other yellow skein here, this is Premier anti-pilling Everyday. And you can see they're similar colors, not exactly, but the ply on this is much more tight and even than this. And it's pretty obvious. It was obvious enough that I could even see it in the product photos on the website. So I'm kind of skeptical, but you know, you don't know until you test it. So that will be coming. I honestly would have swatched it already, except I wanted to be able to have a video and pictures of it in skein, and I just haven't been able to do anything for a while. So Now I can swatch that one and get it started. Another one, this is new this spring. KNC is doing, it's called Essential. It's 100% cotton yarn. I want to compare it to Yarn Bee's cotton yarn that was in my dishcloth comparison last year, which I'm sorry I haven't finished yet. The durability thing, I skewed the results because I've been favoring certain washcloths. So, but that's a subject for a different time. Back to this. This isn't intended to be a dishcloth yarn, like one of the Yarn Bee yarn, or no, it was I Love This Cotton, which is available at Hobby Lobby, which has Yarn Bee, but it's technically not Yarn Bee. It also technically was not supposed to be designed as a dishcloth yarn. I used it for that anyway because, hey, why not? I want to see what it's like. So I actually want to compare these two, since they are designed to be not for dishcloths, but more like a garment cotton or a, you know, not a utility cotton. So that's one. Another one I want to do in this vein of summer yarns, Premier's Bamboo Fair. It's like the cotton fair, where it's a blend of acrylic with a natural fiber. In this case, it's bamboo instead of cotton. It's a lot lighter weight, like a lot lighter. Oh, I'm doing it backwards because I can't tell because I'm looking in the camera. There we go. Now you can see that it's lighter weight. Okay. Okay, another new one this year that I just bought at Joann like a month ago. So this you'll see in stores right now. Lion Brand's Stitch Soak Scrub. It's a nylon chainette yarn. Let me see if I can get it right this time. There we go. You can see it now. Designed for making scrubbies for dishes. And again, last year with the dishcloth comparison, we had the scrubby cotton and everything. There was a slightly different design. I'm really interested to see how this compares, not only because it's nylon. Nylon's usually added to yarns for durability, so it might be more durable than the cotton stuff, but also whether or not it actually is good at scrubbing, because I've never really thought the scrubby cotton was... I felt like it was one of those things that just caked up rather than helped really scrub dishes. So we'll see if that's the case with that. Okay, not a new this yarn season, but kind of a staple at Hobby Lobby. I got some Yarntopia, which is super soft. It's basic acrylic again. Just wanted to see what it was like, and I got a couple skeins. So that I will be swatching soon. So this was supposed to be limited time, available for a limited time last fall at Michael's. This is the Cozy Wool Merino yarn. I was in there 2 weeks ago buying flower pots, and they still had it. So I don't know if that means it was well received and they're going to keep doing it, if they're just trying to liquidate stock, but I figure I better get to it soon. In the event that maybe it's still around this fall and it hasn't been discontinued. So this is, let me see, I believe it's supposed to be a superwash. Yes. So Cozy Wool Merino is 55% superwash merino, which means it's safe to machine wash, and anti-pilling acrylic. So actually, that is a very similar ratio to the Premier Yarns anti-pilling merino blend. And I was just thinking how it actually feels a little similar. The colorways are nothing like what Premier offers, but I've always had a running theory. You may recall, I always have a running theory that some of the loops and threads yarns that get made are actually made by Premier, as evidenced by the way these skeins are rolled. This is a Premier, this is Cotton Fair, this is the Loops and Threads Joy DK. The previous design for this roll was the same as Premier Yarns Luna, and these two are identical straight down to the cardboard tube that's in the center here of these holes. So it's possible this is also secretly a Premier yarn. I really wish I had a way to prove it. Anyway, moving on. Me and my rants. Okay, this was available around Christmas at Joann. Big Twist Glisten. I still saw some in there when I was in there a couple weeks ago, so I don't know if this will be seasonal, if this will be permanent. but it's an acrylic yarn with mohair and metallic fiber. Very lightweight, like a lace weight basically. I was going to make a sweater with it. I got 3 skeins of it. I figured it would make a pretty sweater. So another thing I'm going to for sure swatch. Probably won't get around to writing a review for anytime soon because sweaters are big projects. Okay, but the last one, this is new this spring at Joann too, Big Twist Comfy. All the skeins in the store are basically wrecked like this. I ordered this for pickup. This wasn't clearance or anything. The skeins just get wrecked so badly. I don't know why. So if you don't get one that's wrecked, lucky you. Because when I looked at their bin, they were all like this. So this is technically a little on the bulky side. It's just acrylic. So question is, what's special about it? So this is going to be one that the way they try and advertise is they say it's going to have the feel of merino and everything, the squishy feel. All they really did was did the S-on-S ply thing that lots of acrylic yarns have already been doing, but it does really provide a super soft feel. The ply on this is very similar to the ply of Cascade Yarn's Longwood, which is a merino yarn that is super squishy and comfy, but it's actually merino. This is still just acrylic. And because when I've knit with Longwood, I have often thought that the ply is too loose, which can have some benefits, like in regards to stitch definition, things like that, depending on what project you're working on. So I was going to find a project that, is designed for a merino and see how this works for it. But for now, I will just swatch it. But this being a single skein project, maybe a hat or something, I'll probably write a review for sooner rather than later. Okay, that is the stack of all the yarns. Let me just double check my list to make sure I didn't skip anything, but I think that covered everything, including my little tangents, because sometimes I write those down. Okay. Yes, I think that's all of it. So I have a stack of swatches, a list of things that I can actually write reviews for, and 1, 2, 4, 6, 8 more things to swatch in order to put on the blog. So something I was meaning to do before I renewed the hosting and I decided to just do it was I would really love feedback from all of you who do watch the videos as to how much time you spend just watching my videos versus if you've ever been on the website, if you just use certain reference docs on the website, if you read the reviews, if something that I didn't do in the reviews, but I did in my original purchase posts that I'm thinking about getting rid of was I broke down a cost per yard to figure out, is this actually an affordable yarn? Like I really, really could or would appreciate some input from my viewers as to what information they do find valuable. Because if it's not valuable to you, then there's no point in me putting it out there. It's just me wasting my efforts when I could be spending them on the things that you do appreciate, the swatches, the washing, the comparison chart, things like that, because that is something that across the board everybody seems to appreciate. And again, I've noticed that most of you seem to be crocheters. If you are a knitter, I'd love to know how many of you are knitters, because when I do the swatching right now, I am mostly just knitting. But I was in the initial group doing crochet as well to compare. I kind of sort of worked through the whole, your needle is going to have the biggest impact on whether or not you feel a yarn is splitting and everything. But, if you are only crocheters out there watching, then I should be crocheting all my swatches instead of knitting them, unless I'm, working on a knitting project and everything. So if you have a minute after watching this, please in the comments below, let me know what you've found valuable from my projects on the website, on these videos, things like that, so I can figure out how to best spend my efforts for the next 2 years that I'm going to try keeping this project going. So that aside, happy knitting and crocheting, and hopefully it won't be so long until I make another video. So until next time, bye.